On today's podcast, we are talking relationships, different types, different forms, what's popular, what's not. And we're going to get into some pretty dicey things, but it'll be PG. Don't worry. We'll keep it PG for you guys. Frame Money Podcast starts right about now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Play on My Inc. podcast. It's your boy Simbawi Nibaye Jr., a.k.a. TK. Along with my man Omar Williams, we call him O, and Denise Obi, we call her D Nice. Y'all say what's up to the peeps.
What's up, good people?
Hello.
It's another lovely Wednesday, and y'all know how we do. We get things started and popping. We don't waste no time. But before we do that, it is Affirmation Wednesday. And so we're going to get our affirmations in and out the way to get your day started, your morning, afternoon, or evening, no matter what time you're listening to this. If you're getting the show live here on Wednesday morning, let's get your morning started right. And whatever day or time of day you're listening, let's get that part of your day right as well. Are you ready? Let's go. Today will be a good day. Today will be a great day. Today will be an amazing day. Today will be an awesome day. Today will be a phenomenal day. Today will be stress-free. Today will be a stressless day. Today, I will overcome all barriers that want to block my progress. Today, all circumstances, issues, and situations will work in my favor. Today, all things will line up for my good. Today, I will become better than who and what I was yesterday. I am a go-getter. I am victorious. I am triumphant. I am an overcomer. I never lose. I either win or I learn. I take authority over this day. I will dominate this day. I will conquer this day. And everything I have spoken into this day will happen as I have affirmed, because I am more than a conqueror. Let's get it popping. So today we are talking about relationships. This is part one of a three-part series. So buckle up. It's going to be a pretty nice ride. So before we even jump into this real quick, I just want to say that so we're clear on what we're doing here. We are talking about relationships, if it's between man and a woman, husband and wife, or even relationships when it comes to people who are, friends, associates, co-workers, things of that nature. And we'll explain all that as we move forward. So let's first of all define what a relationship is. It's defined as such: the way in which two or more people, concepts, objects are connected, or the state of being connected, the state of being connected by blood or marriage, the way in which two or more people or groups regard and behave toward each other, and emotional and sexual association between two people. Okay? In a nutshell, any connection between two people, which can be either positive or negative. Now, we're talking about actual human beings, not objects or concepts. We're talking about actual people. Now, objects and concepts may be part of this, but we're talking about, human relationships in this standpoint. So I want to talk about the forms of relationships real quick. We're going to go through these fairly quickly because we have 3 of these topics we want to cover today moving forward. So number one, the first form of relationship, and mind you, there could be more out there. We're going to kind of hit these right here real quick. Number one, platonic relationship. That's a close relationship from a friendship standpoint without it being quote unquote sexual. This some things that go along with that are more of a friends thing and a friends only thing. So we're talking about friendship here. Okay. It can be coworker, classmate, anybody you associate with, groups, things of that nature, things you have in common, similarities, and all that kind of stuff. It's more about respect, care, and support. And it can change over time to possibly even a romantic relationship or nothing at all, meaning that over time you might just drift apart or things may change or seasons, times, you move, whatever happens. You could fall out, you have an argument, you have a disagreement, whatever that means. So most of us that are human beings in this world have platonic relationships. Would you say yes or no?
I say yes.
Yes,
All right.
definitely.
I say
Yes.
Okay. The next one will be romantic relationship. And that is summed up as feelings of love and attraction towards another. All right. Now, again, we're talking about, male and female here. All right. So we're just making things very clear. And this can be summed up as, you're dating someone you feel passionately about, or it can pertain to marriage. All right. Intimacy, commitment, or infatuation could be involved in a romantic relationship. All right. It can also change over time where, there's more excitement, or, as Buzz Lightyear would say, to infinity and beyond, you're just like, oh man, this is it right here. And then sometimes, depending on how the relationship is going, there's excitement in the beginning, and then along the way, there could possibly be boredom, or it could be excitement to more excitement. It just depends on how that relationship is working. In addition to this, feelings of infatuation become less involved, and deeper levels of emotional intimacy and understanding rise, which also includes trust and a deeper commitment. I would say that there are a number of human beings on this earth who also deal with a romantic relationship. Would we agree? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The next one is codependent relationship. And this is a relationship that may be imbalanced where one partner typically takes care of the other, and there's reliance of the other, whether it's emotional, physical, or mental. Now, this relationship is one where one is a giver and the other is a taker. Okay. And they like to avoid conflict. And by avoiding conflict, there's a part to where you might need to feel the need to ask for permission to do things. So that way you're not causing conflict or having feelings that feel as though, you're acting out of your own free will. Then you have, you do things to make the other person happy, but you are put in a uncomfortable position. You're not necessarily happy yourself, or you're not feeling, comfortable in your position, but you do things for the other person to make them happy. Now, this form of relationship can relate or affect other relationships, such as romantic ones. It can affect parent to children relationships. Okay. It can affect friendships. It could also affect co-worker relationships and others. So this kind of relationship, codependent, stretches pretty broad. Okay. The last 3 we're going to go through, and we're going to kind of run through these real quick as we let O and Denise jump in here. I want to set just the foundation of what we're talking about today. There's a casual relationship. Now we're getting to some deeper things now. So these are the last 3 on the list. Casual relationship often involves sexual activity without any commitment. Okay. Now this is kind of more of a promiscuous relationship where it's most common normally among young adults. And the word casual kind of says it all. I think we can agree on that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We're not going to dwell there today. We're going to come back to those on a different day. I'm just giving you guys a foundation, all right? Then we have open relationship. An open relationship. Now we're getting a little deeper. All right. This is more of a consensual, non-monogamous, relationship where both partners are dating each other and or are dating other people as well. That's a whole nother can of worms right there. This can also involve sexual activity with more than one individual. Moving on. Not going to stay there too long. All right. The last one. Hey, I'm gonna make sure that we're not going to stay there too long. All right. The last one is a toxic relationship. Toxic. And this is one that I'm sure that we can go on for days and talk about, but this is an unhealthy relationship that harms emotionally, physically, and psychologically. In this kind of relationship, there's lack of support for the other person. There's blaming going on. There's high levels of control, disrespect, and dishonesty. There's also high levels of poor communication and stress, as well as many others. So those are our 6 forms of relationships. Now, all of these relationships affect different types of relationships, meaning family, friendships, acquaintances, romance, sexuality or sexual relationships or work relationships. And then we have what's called, which is new to me, it's called situationships.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. We're going to put that plug right there because that was new to me. And when I started looking at that, I'm like, that's an interesting topic to talk about. But for another day. So now I want to go back just to the first 3 here real quick. So a platonic relationship. And Denise, kind of jumping here. It talks about a close friendship without it being something that's sexual or intimate. How do you guys look at a platonic relationship from your viewpoint?
Well, I'll start on something that I used to say when I was, please don't hold me to this now. I've changed. I'm grown. I'm older, right? So I used to, so back in my 20s, late teens, that word platonic relationship would come up. And I would always say, I don't think a man could be a platonic friend with a female.
Ooh.
That used to be what I said. Feel like I'm opening the can of this was me 25 years ago.
Okay.
20 years ago, don't hold me to it. But I used to say it all the time until I started to get older. And I started to work in a real job, not just these little, the college days were over, the partying days were over. And I started realizing, you actually can have a platonic female friend with no strings attached, no hidden motives, no hidden agendas, an actual friend. So that word platonic came up earlier in my life, and I didn't understand it until I started to get older. And it's actually a good thing.
Gotcha.
To me.
So, Denise, I'm going to come back to you in the second half of the show. Because I'm going to get O's comments now, and I'm going to let you come back in the second half of the show and say something. All right?
All right.
So, let's now jump to a romantic relationship. Now, what are your thoughts on a romantic relationship?
I think so. A romantic relationship, I personally believe everybody wants one. I know there's people I know there's people who say I don't need this or I don't need that, and I don't believe them. I think the Bible says man should not live alone. You know what I'm saying? So I just believe he created us for each other, right? So, and in all these relationships, so we need them all. We need every one but the toxic ones, and the ones that are negative. But a romantic one is a must. I think it's important. I think we have a need as humans to even have one. I don't think we could just go on and on without life or in our life with just not having an intimate connection with another person.
Okay.
Right? Whether that be and that could be, when I say intimate, we're talking romantically now, but intimacy doesn't necessarily mean always romance. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So.
Okay. Break it down, brother. Break it down.
Yeah.
All right. So the last one, these are the top three we're going to go through today. I'm going to get Denise to come in the second half. Is a codependent relationship. How do you look at a codependent relationship based on what the definition of that is?
I believe codependent relationships are very toxic. I think when you need somebody to exist, or you need somebody to do anything, I think that's a problem. People say I can't live without you, or I'm nothing without you.
Run.
Yes, or I can't do I want to be around you all the time. I personally think that's toxic. So the codependent relationships, you see that a lot with sometimes you see that with parents and children. Sometimes you see that with marriages. Sometimes you see that with a lot of different things. Some guys are codependent with their friends. That's why when they get a girlfriend, it's like, I'm hanging with the boys tonight. It's like, grow up, brother. Stop being so codependent on your homies. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
But that codependency, man, is that one is rough. Like that one is like I couldn't even imagine having to be codependent upon another. No, couldn't do it.
Now I will say that, and I'll come to the guy's defense on the hanging out with guys thing. Now look, I know what O is saying, but those relationships are needed.
We need it, no. Yes.
But when you're codependent on it, that's another story.
Yes.
Because the question now becomes, okay, especially when it comes to marriage, and we'll touch on this in the second half. When it comes to marriage, it's like, okay, you're married now. You have other responsibilities. Yes, there's a time and a place for that. But when you're like, man, I need the guys because I gotta go. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's great. But let's not default to that. Because now, in all technicality, I'm gonna stop after this. Technically, you should have married your best friend. And your relationship with the guys should be one that, hey, every now and then I need this, or it could be an every week thing where it's like, hey, if you're in a relationship, you're cool with that, fine, or a monthly thing. But you shouldn't be always like, man, I gotta go ahead with the guys. I just can't deal with her right now. Like now, you're getting to a place where it's starting to get into dangerous territory, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So when we come back after this break, I want to get Denise in here on these top three, because today we're going to talk about mainly the platonic, the romantic, and the codependent relationship on today's podcast. So stay tuned. We're going to bring Denise in. We're going to have a good conversation on these next three. And check us out. Frame My Name Podcast. We'll be right back. Are you looking for an apparel company that's positive, uplifting, and truly cares about you? Then look no further. Frame of Mind, Inc., an apparel brand company, impresses on individuals to think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. Get positive apparel, such as t-shirts, hoodies, and wristbands for children, teens, and adults in various colors and sizes. Customized services include logo and t-shirt design, screen printing for individuals, families, schools, profit, and nonprofit organizations. You can reach Frame of Mind, Inc. at 302-689-3499 or visit their website at www.frameofmindinc.com. Frame of Mind, Inc. Think it, speak it, achieve it.
It's a frame of mind.
All right, so we are back with the second half of our show, and we're talking about the top three forms of relationships. That is the platonic relationship, the romantic relationship, and the codependent relationship. So I'm going to get Denise in here now to talk on her perspective of these three, and then we're going to have a nice, constructive conversation around these three relationships. And I mind you, we're talking about these for a reason, because we want to be able to help you guys understand what relationships are, what they mean, how they can be good for you, how they can be bad for you, and all in between. Because I'll be honest, personally, post-COVID, there's a lot of things that we need to kind of relearn how to do. And that goes from relationships in general, whether it's, you personally dealing with yourself, dealing with others, friends, acquaintances, marriage, whatever. And there are a lot of things going on now where there's a lot of quote unquote chaos in the relationship field. So we'll get back to that later, but I'm just kind of laying some foundation of why we're doing this series. So Denise, I'm gonna have you chime in here now with the female standpoint.
Yes.
So all the females' ears are all wide open and listening now. I know they are. So let's talk about the platonic relationship. So this is the friendship without it being sexual or intimate. How do you look at that relationship from a female standpoint? How do you look at that?
Definitely, I agree with O. Men and women can be friends. I have a few close friends of mine that are guys that I've known since high school or college, and it's nothing more than that. I think with that, it just depends on both of you guys' heart and the intention. And if you both know the intention is just friends, I love you like a brother, I love you like a sister, that's it. That's platonic.
Okay. All right.
Said platonic.
Oh, he said platonic. Right. Got a Y there, Play tonic. Okay. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna come back to that one later. But I'm gonna move on to romance. So romantic, that of course feelings of love and attraction. How do you view that from a female standpoint?
It's possible, find the one, your hubba to your bubba, your romantic one. I think what's not to love, It's a guy and a girl loving each other, doing their thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Straightforward.
She keep it plain and simple and straightforward. I'll come back to that one too in a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So now codependent. What is your view on codependent? Now we're looking at an unbalanced relationship. One partner typically takes care of the other. There's reliance, whether emotional, physical, or mental. How do you view that from a female standpoint as well?
Codependent, I'd say there's a little toxicness in that one, because that goes to show me if you're depending on me and not necessarily knowing how to take care of yourself, or I have to think your every mood, then I feel like I'm your mother and not your significant other, not your wife or anything. Because clearly I'm having to say, okay, wear this. Okay, we have to be here by this time. Okay, we have to eat this for dinner. Okay, we're going here. Okay, plan everything out. So clearly that goes to show me that you have not matured yet and you still have some growing up to do. So if I see that as a red flag early on in the relationship, I'm going to say, let's go talk to Dr. Phil. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. So in this case, again, one's the giver, one's the taker. Yeah. And that can, of course, can become very toxic. So I'm going to double back to platonic real quick, or platonic, as you say. Platonic. So you, I don't know, you both you and O said that men and women can be friends. This is 100% possible. I'm going to take this to the marriage standpoint. And I'm going to say that, yes, you can still have male friends and female friends. Yes, we all have those. My question is, and I may be kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, but that's okay. We do that here sometimes. Is it possible, or is it good for a male who is married to a female to have a best friend that's a female who is not his wife, and vice versa?
I'm gonna let
Am I talking first?
Yes. Because I feel like you go first.
All right. So here's my thing with that, because I actually am experiencing that right now.
Oh.
So what I do is I make a point to talk to the wife or talk to the fiance, not only just if they're in the dating phase or the marriage phase, whether what phase I came in on or whatever phase she came in on. I make it a point to introduce myself, be open and honest with her, and also I don't necessarily have to be her friend per se, but I make it a point to really make sure she has an understanding of what's going on. And then, like, I know I can't text him all hours of the night unless it's an emergency, but I have respectable time. If he's out with her or doing something, I know to have it's less lenient time to be with like talking to him and everything because now he's with someone else. So I balanced my time of talking to him, also definitely reaching out to her and really having a friendship with her as well, or just a mutual respect.
Oh, I think we lost O for a minute. All right, so while we're waiting on O, I'm gonna chime in here for a minute. So I'm going to say this as a married man who has a wife of 15 years. Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to say this. I do not believe
Right.
that a male who is married to a female can have a best friend who's a female, because I strongly believe that you should have married your best friend.
Right.
Now, and vice versa, a female who has a male best friend who is married to a man, yes, that relationship is there, but now that you've married your husband, like that now should be your best friend. Now, you may still have a relationship with that person where you guys are still friends, but I think that because now I think to a degree you may be crossing into something that's a little more down, where we're talking that maybe like, you know, the open relationship, where it may not be open to the definition, but now you're leaving the door open for stuff to happen or possibly creep in. So that's kind of where I look at it from. I'm not going to get all biblical here on you guys, but I just feel as though that when you do get married, there needs to be an establishment of, hey, we can still be friends. I'm thinking about the song, We Can. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we can still be friends. But the friendship, it's not what it used to be, because now my situation, my situation has now changed. And so that's how I look at it and view it. Go ahead, O.
So I think generations that's why I love her opinion, because you're younger than us, and I think things are different now. Before I get into even saying more, just my personal opinion, I would think it would be, I don't think it's the most wise thing for a man to have a best friend as a female while he's married, because I'll think by default you'll start getting into conversations that are kind of inappropriate. And when I mean inappropriate, I don't mean like you're talking like vulgar or like you're talking sexually to each other. I mean, like, there's certain things that you probably shouldn't be confiding in another person about.
Right.
That's not your wife, right?
Yeah.
So like, and that's a natural thing to do to a friend. Like, I may confide in my boy, and that's fine. This is my boy. But like, if I do the same thing to a female, it's just a line that could be crossed. That's all I'm saying. So, but I know times are different. But I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
like how, you know, it's like if you had a friend as a guy before he was married, and he's like your homie, and then he gets married. It's like, what happens there? I just think by natural progression, your relationship should start changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he may start being like, I got a boy. I got this boy. You might want to meet. My homie. You might want to meet him, or you might want to meet my homie here, or like. But you two, I don't know. Yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. I do know. I'm not going to say I don't know. I think it's just not it's not a good idea. That's all.
And again, go ahead, Denise. Go ahead, Denise.
I was going to say I agree too, and like our friendships have changed, and I was completely aware of that in the beginning, and now like the other day, one of them kind of, it wasn't anything inappropriate, but they said something to me, and I said, I'm not answering to this. You have to talk to her about that. And he understood, and he left it right there.
That's
and she saw the message, and she like reached out to me and said, thank you so much. I said, I understand. So there's respect.
Yes.
So it's like that respect is always there.
That's wisdom.
Yeah.
and that's why I said, you know, there's an open door for some things that happen that probably shouldn't happen. And so when O said, you know, it's more like you're confiding in that person. And to a degree, depending on how that person feels about you, that can be ammunition to start causing things to happen in their favor. And so, and like I said, it's a whole can of worms that's going to be hard to close once things start coming out. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm like, hey, I got a question that might rattle some feathers. Let's just talk about it while we're here. All right. So that kind of answers the question pretty much for both the platonic and the romantic. But I do want to go back to the codependent real quick, because I think both you and O said that it could be a toxic situation. I agree with that. Where, again, one's a giver, one's a taker. And Denise, I think you said it perfectly when you said if you're dealing with a man where you're in a relationship and you're doing everything for him and you're kind of being the one that does everything, it's like you feel like you're his mother, not his significant other. You should write that down and just copyright that. I feel like I'm your mother, not that you're significant other. There you go. All right. And that could be very well true, and vice versa. If there's a male who's doing it with a female, now there may be a slight difference, because the man, he may like that, possibly, but then you have those who are kind of like, man, like I feel like I'm more of your father than your significant other. Like I want to be your husband. I don't want to be your father. I don't want to be an uncle or whatever that is. And so I think O said it too, where people have said, oh, I can't live without you. Or if I can't live with you, if I can't have you, I don't want to be alive, or whatever people say. Now you're getting into a place where it's just like, like, again, you need to kind of grow up, and again, people deal with things in life where all they know is codependency. It's codependency. That's something they need to kind of get free of and get delivered from and get help in that area. So we can't knock the person who's dealt with that for a majority of their lives. But for those who kind of lean that way for whatever reasons, let's just be honest that it can be a toxic situation as well. So again, these people talk about platonic, romantic, and codependent relationship. I do agree when it comes to parent and child. That's something that's a little different, but you also want to make sure that to a degree, let's just talk parenting for a minute. As your child begins to get older, you do need to start coming off a little bit and let them be who they are. Because I'm going to say I have witnessed, talked to, and seen parents who have children who are adults, and they still try to parent them as if they are 12 years old. And I'm like, you can't do that. Now, understanding I don't have a son that's an adult yet. My son will be 13 this month. But understand that I once was a teenager. I am now a grown man. My parents don't treat me the same way as I was when I was 12, 13, or even 17, 18 years old, or 20 years old. It's a different relationship. And what happens is you really start to push them away rather than bring them closer to you. Eventually, as a parent, you do become a friend, but that's after they've established their adulthood life, and even though you still have children of yours who may not be making the best decisions, you still have to let them be an adult. Like you can't be quick to run and save them from their decisions, because to a degree, like, life is going to happen and you're going to have to figure out either how to get things done. Now, ask for help. Don't get me wrong, ask for help, but you can't be I'm going to run and save them. Like, look, eventually you're going to have to let them figure this out on their own, or get help from someone who can help them, overcome these things. So I think from a codependent standpoint, from a parenting standpoint, you have to really watch those parenting styles and all that as they begin to get old. That's when I kind of throw that in there. If you guys have something to say on that, let me know. So.
No, I just feel like a lot of the codependent relationships do start at home. Kids can't, certain kids, they gotta get like okay from their parents on everything until like from the age of young age to 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And again, nothing's wrong with counsel, but if you just look at how like we won't be able to flourish without. Sometimes we gotta hit our head. You know what I mean? Sometimes we gotta, like, if you do it in like a bird's point of view,
Right.
Eagles let their babies, they gotta get out of the egg on their own.
Yep.
And if they didn't do it, if they did it for them, they'll fall out the nest and die because they won't be strong enough.
Mm.
So, I mean, I ain't want to.
That's a good analogy, though.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a
Yeah.
very good analogy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and to a degree, Eagles, they literally push them out the nest.
Yes.
It's kind of like, you got to go fly. Like, you got to go, like, you can fly. You have wings.
I gave
You
all I
may
gave you.
struggle,
Yeah.
but but first of all, let's just get you to figure out you got wings first.
Come on. Yeah.
Now, once you figured you got them, now like, oh, I can use these. Now, how do I use? Okay, now that you realize you have them, let me show you how to use them. You know, so that's a great point. Great way of putting it.
I got a quick question for you, brother, man.
Yeah.
Help us out, man. Like when you say you got to marry your best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? Like, how do you know?
How do you know?
Like, how do you know? Like, that sounds
For the
good to a
single
single
one.
person. Yeah, like that
Yeah.
sounds good, but it's like, or is it just a knowing?
So here's the thing: is that
Okay.
when you are getting to the point where you're going to marry your significant other, there are conversations you're going to have with that person that you're not going to have with anyone else. Not to mention that the conversations that you do have need to stay between you and not go to anyone else, because you're now doing life together. And when you get married to someone, you become one. And so what happens is you're walking life out together, you're doing things together, and then when you start having children, now you're parenting together. Now, of course, as men, like me and O, at times we get together, we talk about life. We do that. That's a brotherhood. You got to have that. Denise has someone she probably goes out and she talks to, and they talk about life. You need that in your life, yes. But there are some things that need to remain between you and your spouse, and no one else needs to know and talk about it, because those conversations are very intimate. They're very close to the heart, not to mention that there is a continuity you guys have to have, because when you start letting others into your relationship, especially when it comes to intimate, deep cave conversations, that can also tear you apart, because now you're telling someone else X, Y, and Z, but your spouse doesn't know. Now, of course, there are some things that men are going to talk about that we're not going to necessarily tell your spouse, but you also need to make sure that you can't go out and tell someone else about what's going on and then not decide how you're going to try and fix that at home.
All right.
You got to at least try to make a decision that, hey, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to talk with her. I'm going to talk with him. But I need to release right now to my confidant what's going on. And then that confidant can say, hey, let's try to get you back home to try and get this fixed. You know, communication is key in your relationship. I don't care what relationship it is. Co-worker, you know, if it's parent, child to parent, you know, if it's platonic, if romantic, whatever it is, communication is key. And if that communication is not happening within those four walls or wherever you guys talk, and it's happening outside with someone else, and it's not happening inside, it's possible you didn't marry someone who is now your best friend. And listen, everyone has their own opinion about things. But if you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, why would that person not be your best friend? I'm just saying, you know. And I'll be honest. I'll be personally honest, since we like to make things very personal, so the audience understands we know where we're coming from. I was not sure yet that I had married my best friend. I knew I married the one, but I wasn't sure that she was my best friend. When I realized that, that's when things changed. Because I realized, no, if I'm doing life with her, she's the one that's got to have my back. Why would I not treat the one I'm spending the rest of my life with from a marriage standpoint as my best friend? And that's the one that has my back no matter what. Right or wrong, she's got my back. And then behind closed doors, let's talk about what it is that I did wrong. But in public, like, hey, look, I got your back because you and me are one. I'm going to leave it at that.
Come on, brother, man.
That was deep.
That was deep. Yes, that's good.
You can pass the offering pan around.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you very
got you,
much.
man.
But I think that's important for people to hear, because that's why I say I don't believe it's possible to have a best friend outside of your marriage, because you should have married the one that you have that should be your best friend. Whether you realize it early in your marriage, middle, or later, and I am thankful I realized it early in my marriage, because I did kind of struggle with it, and it was an internal thing, and I'm being very honest. But I realized it a lot sooner than later, and I'm glad I did, because it caused me to treat her much better than what I was. And I wasn't treating her bad. It's just I wasn't treating her as not just my spouse, but my best friend, to do life with, to carry out life with, to do everything with. Because we do business together. We do parenting together. We make plans together. You know, we make mistakes together. Let's just be honest. Like, you do everything together. There shouldn't be anything that comes between that bond. And I'm gonna stop. I feel like I feel another sermon coming on. I'm sorry.
Get your mind right. Get your mind right. It's a frame of mind.
Anyway, anything else, guys, before we go on our platonic, romantic, and codependent relationships? Anything else you want to talk about before we go? We're good? All right, cool beans. So real quick before we go, guys, next week, because this is a 3-part series. So next week, we're going to actually dive into the casual, open, and toxic relationships. That's probably going to be a little juicy. So I'm just letting you guys know. You guys are probably wanting to come back to hear that, because those are the ones that most people in today's world are kind of gravitating to. Now, I won't say most, but it's very common now in today's world. Also, on next week, we're going to actually present you guys with the product of the month here on Frame of Mind, on our Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. So you want to stay tuned for that as well. And that's all we got for you guys today. So for all of us here at Frame of Mind Inc. podcast, continue to think it, speak it, and achieve it. And until next week, we holla.
Thank you for joining the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. And as always, here at Frame of Mind Inc., think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. As our tagline says, think it, speak it, achieve it. See you next time.
It's a frame of mind. It's what you say and what you do.
Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.frameofmindinc.com, where you can browse our online apparel store, listen to some of our original music and production services, as well as view our videos and projects we've done for our clients and customers.